Hey there. Last week you heard Terry Tucker from Motivational Check LLC talk about his four truths that he kind of derived with time, is probably a fair way to say it, Terry.
Correct.
And we only got to rules one and two because it was a great discussion on each one. And he was able to come back and finish rules number three and four with us. And, Terry's also the author of Sustainable Excellence. The book link will be in the show notes for everyone, and he's the master of personal reinvention. If you heard the first episode, I think you understand why. And I just wanted to keep this going to get rules number three and four out. So Terry, if you can just give first, sorry, welcome back, Terry. Thank you for your time.
Well, Andre, thanks for having me back. I'm looking forward to talking with you again.
If you can just give a quick background, how you got to the point with the four truths, repeat the four truths, and then get right into number three would be great.
Sure. So a little bit of my professional background. When I graduated from college, started out in the marketing department at the corporate headquarters of Wendy's International, the hamburger chain. Then I moved to hospital administration. Then I made a major pivot in my life and became a police officer. And part of what I did during my law enforcement career was I was a SWAT team hostage negotiator. After law enforcement, I started a school security consulting business, coached girls high school basketball, started a motivational speaking business. But for the last 11 years, I've been battling a rare form of cancer. It's a rare form of melanoma. It has seen me on a drug for 5 years that gave me the flu every week. I had my foot amputated in 2018, my leg amputated in 2020, and I'm still dealing with tumors in my lungs. So that's kind of the backstory. The four truths that I've developed are: number one, control your mind or your mind is going to control you. Number two, embrace the pain and the difficulty that we all experience in life and use that pain and difficulty to make you a stronger and more determined individual. Number three, I look at more as a legacy type of truth, and it's this: what you leave behind is what you weave in the hearts of other people. And then number four, as long as you don't quit, you can never be defeated. And on the last recording, we talked about number one and number two. So I'll jump into number three. What you leave behind is what you weave in the hearts of other people. Most of us either grew up with or have seen or heard about Fred Rogers. Mr. Rogers on his television show, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, educated so many kids, including me, on public television. After Fred Rogers died in 2003, his family was going through his personal effects and found his wallet. And in his wallet was a scrap piece of paper in which Mr. Rogers had handwritten four simple words: life is for service. So I think it's important for all of us, regardless of what stage of life we're in, whether we're just starting out, whether we're middle-aged, or whether we're coming to the end of the road, to think about the end game of our life. What are people going to say about us at our funeral? What do we want people, to say about us at our funeral? I actually have friends that still read the obituary page, either in the newspaper or online every day, for two reasons. One, to keep themselves humble, and two, to have them realize that someday somebody's going to be reading their obituary. After I had my leg amputated and I found out I had these tumors in my lungs, I went with my wife to the mortuary, to the cemetery, and to the church, and I planned my funeral. And because I come on podcasts like yours, Andre, and I do talks in person, I actually got some brushback from people who commented that somehow planning my funeral was in some way defeatist. And I had to explain to these people that the last time I checked, we're all going to die. I don't think anybody's working on a cure for life right now.
Yeah, we haven't figured that one out yet.
Yeah, exactly. Every one of us is going to die, but not every one of us is really going to live. And I heard a Native American Blackfoot proverb years ago that I absolutely love, and it goes like this: when you were born, you cried and the world rejoiced. Live your life in such a way so that when you die, the world cries and you rejoice. That's what I want. That's what I'm looking for. Wow. Don't get me wrong. I'm not looking to hasten my demise in any way, but death is not nearly as scary for me as it is for other people, because I believed I found my purposes in life and I lived those purposes.
Yeah, I like what you said there. Everyone is going to die, but yet there's a lot that don't live.
Yeah.
Right. And again, like we talked on the last episode, that's a decision. It's a cognizant, either you did something about it or you didn't. So to me, that's very profound. Um, so how would you recommend someone to kind of shift their mindset to have that kind of thinking of, what you leave behind, have that obituary of choice?
Yeah, I think part of it is, and I try to do this every day of my life. Do one thing every day that makes you nervous, that scares you, that is potentially embarrassing. It doesn't have to be a big thing, but if you do those small things every day, when the big disasters in life hit us, and they hit all of us, we lose somebody who's close to us, we get let go from our job, we find out we have a chronic or terminal illness, you'll be so much more resilient to handle those things when they come your way. And I think I guess, two things that cancer has taught me. Number one, I don't think you really know yourself until you've been tested in life by some form of adversity.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, I think cancer has made me a better human being. And I know people, when I say that, they look at me like, are you nuts? And I'm like, no, because cancer has gotten me to a point where I appreciate the things that are important in life. I mean, we can have all the money, all the power, all the influence we want in the world. And the way I look at this, Andre, is kind of like this. We seem to think that we are born empty. And when we finally, get out of school and we get into life, we spend all this time filling up ourselves. I got to have a good job. I got to have a car. I've got to have a house. I've got to have all these things. And we fill ourselves up. And that's what our life is about. And what I've come to appreciate is it's just the opposite. We're not born empty. We're born full. And our job should be to empty ourselves out for the betterment of ourselves, our family, our friends, our community, our creator. And if you look at it that way, I think you really come to a point where you appreciate what's really important in life. And it's not what you get, it's what you give.
It's not what you get, it's what you give. Wow, that's huge. It kind of reminds me of City Slickers, Curly, that old cowboy saying, there's, life. What's the meaning of life? He puts up his one finger, that one thing, and it's different for everyone. So that kind of, to me, that connected those two there. So it's not what you get, it's what you give. And that's what it kind of falls in line with Mr. Rogers' life is for service. And we also have, or soon, I forget in which order it is, but, Dave Sanderson said the same type of thing. It's a guy I interviewed. Well, also, he said along the same thing is how does something serve me, a positive or negative experience? So I really like that. And I don't think people think about it that way. A lot of people think it's a cliche and just kind of brush it aside, but the hard work is doing that.
Just there's that old saying about, time heals everything. Yeah. It doesn't. It's not the time that heals everything. It's the hard work you do during that time that heals everything. So like you said, do the hard work.
Oh yeah, dude, this is good. Time doesn't heal. It's the work that you did.
The hard work you do during that time that heals.
Okay, I gotta write that down. That's huge. All right, what about number 4?
Yeah, number 4. So this one I think is rather self-explanatory, and it's this: as long as you don't quit, you can never be defeated. And the way this resonates with me is this: someday my pain is going to end. It may end through surgery. It may end through some type of new medication that comes along. Quite frankly, it may end when I die. But if I quit, if I give up, if I give in to pain, then pain will always be a part of my life. If you want to overcome the difficulties that you experience in life, implement the 40% rule that I learned from the Navy SEALs. There's a young man who works with my wife who's a former Navy SEAL, and he's kind enough on my off weeks to call me and just check up on me and stuff like that. And one of the things we talk a lot about mindset and things like that. And the SEALs have this mindset that if you're done, if you're at the end of your rope, if you can't go on, that you're only at 40% of your maximum and you still have another 60% left in reserve to give to yourself. So the next time you think, you know what, I'm just too tired to get off the couch and go to the gym. You know, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to make dinner. I'll just order a pizza. You know, all the things that we just don't think we have the energy for. You still have another 60% left in reserve to give to yourself. And I think that goes back to the point where, you know, I mean, we all don't want to do things. We all, you know, want our life just to be the way it is. But if you do the hard work, if you do the things that other people don't want to do, I remember there was a American football player by the name of Jerry Rice, played for the San Francisco 49ers. He's in the Hall of Fame. And he had a great quote. And this is what he said: "Today I will do what others won't, so that tomorrow I can do what others can't." Mm-hmm. So if you think about that, you know, the things that, you know, I go back to the, you know, what we talked about on the first episode of my daughter, you know, getting up and putting up thousands of shots. Well, most of the time we had the gym to ourselves. And we used to always talk about, where is everybody else? They're sleeping in. You know, I'll get to it later. You know what? No, you're getting up early and you're getting after it. If you do that, it goes back to the Jerry Rice quote. You're doing the things today because other people won't, so that tomorrow you can do the things that other people can't.
Right. And that kind of ties into your rule number one about controlling your mind, or it'll control you. So you're controlling your mind to do that extra work, getting up early. It actually falls in through to number two, which is embrace pain to get that extra 60%.
Yeah.
So all your rules, that's really cool how we're tying all the four rules together. And as long as you don't quit, that's one thing I've always been accused of being stubborn, is you never quit. But if there's something I want to overcome, like when I got diagnosed with diabetes, I wallowed. I got upset. You know, you go through the stages of grieving, and I'm assuming you probably went through the same thing with your cancer diagnosis. But once I realized there's something I can do, I just said, I'm going to control the diabetes. So I changed my lifestyle. It wasn't easy. It was hard work, but you know, I controlled my mind. I embraced the pain and just, you know, going to the gym, more exercise, no more, oh, I feel tired, I'm not going to do it anymore, or not going to do it today because tomorrow's another. And I think a lot of us, especially the entrepreneurs who are successful and who's listening and we're at this stage, is we never quit. And we can get defeated, but as long as we don't quit, we're still moving forward. Is there a point that we sometimes, I want to ask you this actually, you know, as long as you don't quit, you can never be defeated. But sometimes, when is it enough? Or is there a place that I did a short where I kind of said there's a difference between quitting and stopping? And does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, it absolutely does. There's a former Navy SEAL, Army Ranger, Air Force pararescueman by the name of David Goggins. I don't know if you may have heard of him. No. The guy is, at one point he had the world record for number of pull-ups in a 24-hour period. The guy is just amazing. And he talks about, he has this ethos that, you know, every day is a day one, week one mentality, where you're starting over every day. You know, whatever you did yesterday is what you did yesterday, but you're starting over today. And part of the ethos that he talks about is, most people quit when they're tired. I quit when I'm done. And I think that's the point you're trying to make. You know, we get to a point where, oh, you know, I'm just tired. Okay, I'm gonna give up. No, you quit. You're done when you're done, not when you're tired. And I think that really separates success from mediocre, from failure. There's an entrepreneur by the name of Ed Mylett who talks about the 4 types of people in the world. And he said the first type are the unmotivated. And he said that's the vast majority of people that you'll run into in the world. He said the second group are the motivated. He said it's kind of a carrot and stick kind of thing where, you know, it's just a life based on motivation. It's kind of low level, but it works for a lot of people. And then he talks about the third group, which are the inspirational people. Inspiration coming from 2 words, in spirit. If you're an inspirational person, you move people with your energy. And then the fourth group he talks about are the aspirational people. where people aspire to be like you. And I always ask people, which category do you fall in? Are you the vast majority? Are you the unmotivated that just kind of, waffling through life? And, then you get to the end of your life. And, unfortunately, through my cancer journey and being in law enforcement, I've seen a lot of people die. And it seems, I'm going to make a huge generalization now, but it seems the people who die, what you and I, Andre, would call peaceful deaths or meaningful deaths, are the people who actually did something with their life. They got out there, they found their purpose, and they lived it. Whereas the people who seem to go kicking and screaming, who, want another month or another year, those seem to be the people that never did anything with their life. They never found their purpose and lived it. Don't be one of those people. If we're all gonna die, be a person who said, you know what, I found my purpose in life, I lived that purpose, and now, it's time to move on to whatever the next thing is.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So the 4 truths, and as you were talking there, it just hit me very hard, actually, that I think anyone who's listening here, overcoming undiagnosed ADHD or working with ADHD in the entrepreneurial world, getting very successful, and the high achiever, we achieve, we set more goals, and we keep going. We can't stop. I think we've been living these 4 truths. We got here because of these 4 truths. It's just we never knew what those were. So I really appreciate these 4 truths, because when you first contacted me about this and I looked this up, I'm like, man, this is very good for my listeners. And I really like this. And again, go to his website at motivationalcheck.com. We'll have it in the show notes. There's more information there. To wrap this up a little bit, I found something on your website that really hit me, and I would like you to elaborate on this.
Sure.
It was believe in yourself and know that there will be light at the end of your journey one day. The cliche is at the light at the end of the tunnel, but you flipped it with the end of your journey one day. I'd like you to elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean, I've always had a very strong faith in God. I don't put my faith on anybody. I mean, you have to just have your own spiritual journey, whatever, if there even is one in your life. But I really, believe that we go through darkness, we go through tough times, and no matter how slimy, how stinky, your life gets, it can never ever overcome the light that you have in your soul. And so many people think that. So many people think they get so down, they get so far down in that hole that, there's no way I can ever get out. Well, number one, nobody's coming to your rescue. So if you want to get out, you're going to have to get out by yourself. But understand that everything you need to be successful in life, everything you need to have a quality life, it's already inside you. It's already there. You don't have to go find it. It is there. And that's the light that you have in your soul. If you want to get out of that hole, whatever that hole is, whether it's ADHD, whether you failed in numerous businesses, whatever it ends up being, you absolutely have the ability to do that. So I looked at it more as kind of an end of life experience for me. Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, during World War II, had a great quote. He said, "If you're going through hell, keep going,
keep walking." Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's such a great quote, because so many of us, I'm going through hell, I'm going to stop, I'm going to quit, I'm going to give up. And so many people do that. And that goes back to the mediocre people in life. Be one of those people that I will do today what others won't, so that tomorrow I can be the person who can do what others can't. Be that person. And that just means putting one foot in front of the other. If you gain 1 inch today and you're farther along, and the last thing I'll say about this is this: stay in your lane. Don't be like, I want to learn from other people. Absolutely. But he's got a lot of money, or he's got a nice car, or he's got that. I want to be like, that's not your life. That's their life.
Correct.
Be happy for them, be joyous for them, congratulate them, but focus on where you're going and not where everybody else is going. And I've seen so many people do that, either through my cancer journey, where people turn their life over to a doctor, or in life where they get jealous of somebody because they end up, that guy's got a lot of money and I want to be like him. Do you really know who that guy is? He might be miserable. I mean, my wife had a mentor, she's in the financial services industry, who you and I would look at and say, guy's got it all. Multiple houses, more money than he'll ever be able to spend in his life. And he ended up taking his own life. So you don't really know who people are. Stay in your lane. Focus on what you're supposed to do. And I promise you, at the end of your life, no matter how hard, difficult, stinky, difficult it is, the light in your soul will shine through and you will get to something that's much better than you have right now.
Yeah, it's along the same lines you said in the last episode that make sure that your life is lived by your decisions, not by others.
Right.
So I think that's a good synopsis to that. So this is again, thank you again for rules. Your four truths, not rules. And I do think they're truths. And rule number one is control your mind or it will control you. Number two is embrace pain and difficulty we all experience in life and use it to make you a stronger and more resilient individual. Number three is what you leave behind is what you weave in the hearts of other people. And number four, as long as you don't quit, you can never be defeated. And like you said before, people quit when they're tired, but the high achieving entrepreneurs or the people that keep going, they quit when they're done. And I think that's a big caveat there. And the other thing you said was really profound was time doesn't heal wounds. It's the hard work you did over that time. I think that's a really cool twist on it. That makes a lot of sense. And like you said, everyone's going to die and a lot of people don't live. So it's up to us to decide if we're going to live. And as an entrepreneur, sometimes we'll get lost in our companies and building the stuff, but then we forget to live. And that's where I think this is a very important thing. We got to start living and living with the right people. And just to end it off here, like you started off, Mr. Rogers, life is for service. And you'll figure it out with time. And as long as you're serving people, and that's with your companies, it's with your passion projects, it's your volunteer. Like you can still do this with your companies. If you're there for service for other people, I think the point you're also making is that it'll be reciprocated. What comes around goes around, right?
Absolutely. Totally.
So, man, I love this. So to me, the biggest lesson I'm getting out of all this is no matter the obstacle challenge that is thrown at you, you have a decision to take it or sit down and defeat. And then you make the decision to make a commitment to take personal responsibility for your success and happiness, but make sure it's your decision and not others people's decisions. Terry, thank you very much. Where can people find you?
I'm at motivationalcheck.com. I have all kinds of things there. Go to the website, check it out, leave me a message. I respond to everybody that leaves me a message. So motivationalcheck.com will get you to me.
Okay. And you also do speaking engagements.
I do.
You can find that on the website. And
yes.
I'm going to, we don't know each other a lot. We just had a couple conversations this date, but I'm actually going to say, if you have an event that you think that Terry's story and four truths can benefit other people, please hire him. Go to his website, see what he can do. Because these four truths is something I've never seen. And in this format and the way it's presented, it's life experience. He's experienced. He's just not regurgitating other people's stuff, and he lives it, and you can get that. And you can tell from his voice, the passion is there to help other people learn the four truths and for them to make their own decisions. So Terry, thanks again for a great conversation. And to the listeners, thanks for listening. And please let me know what you thought about this episode. I'd really like to think what you think about the four truths, and have these four truths, have you been living these without realizing in those, as stated as the four truths? So Terry, thanks again.
Thanks, Andre. I appreciate it.
And to you, the listener, thank you. We'll talk soon.